You know, we're living in this absolutely golden age of health technology. I mean, we've got health trackers that fit in our pocket, and we're developing therapies that can literally rewrite our genetic code. It feels like every single day we're right on the edge of some new breakthrough that's going to help us live longer, healthier lives. It really is an incredible time to be alive.
And all of this progress leads to a question that, on the surface seems like it should have a really simple answer. With all these amazing new tools, are we finally on the brink of curing our biggest health challenges for good?
Well, here's the catch. The answer is so much more complicated than you might think. We have this incredible promise of modern medicine, right? But the reality, well, it looks quite different. We expect longer lives for everyone. But what we're actually seeing is a growing gap in life expectancy. We hope for cures that end diseases, but we're seeing these stubborn disparities that just won't go away. And instead of health becoming more democratic, we're actually seeing brand new kinds of inequality pop up.
Get a load of this number, 14.6 years. According to a major study, that's the life expectancy gap between the richest 1% and the poorest 1% of American men. 14.5 years. So while the wealthiest are gaining years and years of life, the poorest have barely seen any gains at all. It's staggering. And that brings us right to the heart of the puzzle we're tackling in this explainer. If our medical tools are getting so much better, exponentially better, why are the gaps in our health getting wider? It's a paradox that really makes you question what we even mean by progress.
So, to figure this out, we can't just look at the shiny new tech itself. Nope, we've got to look deeper. We have to examine the social systems where all this technology exists. We need to find the real root of the gap.
Okay, so a really powerful way to understand this is something called the fundamental causes theory. It comes from two sociologists, Bruce Link and Joe Phelan. And what they argue is that things like your socioeconomic status, they aren't just linked to bad health. They are a fundamental cause of it. Why? Well, because they control your access to what they call flexible resources. Think of it as your personal toolkit for staying healthy. Things like money, education, who you know, and your ability to make things happen. These are the tools people use to protect their health, no matter what new threat comes along.
And this quote from them just nails it. We spend so much time focusing on individual choices, right? Like diet or exercise. But they're saying, hey, what's really crucial is to turn around and look at the factors that put people at risk of risks in the first place. It's all about the context you live in, not just your personal behavior.
So, how does this theory explain our technology paradox? Well, it's basically a three-step chain reaction. First, a cool new life-saving innovation comes out, a new drug, a vaccine, whatever. Second, the people with more of those flexible resources, more money, better education, the right connections, they're able to grab onto it and use it way faster. And here's the kicker, step 3. Because they benefit first, the health gap between them and everyone else actually gets wider. The very innovation that was meant to help everyone ends up making inequality even worse.
Okay, so that's the theory. It sounds pretty compelling, right? But let's see how it actually plays out in the real world. We're going to put one specific part of medicine right under the microscope: kidney care.
We're going to start our journey way back in the 1970s with a technology that's been around for a long time, dialysis. And then we'll see how those same patterns are repeating themselves with the cutting-edge digital stuff we have today.
Now, kidney care is such a fascinating case study because of this really unique law that was passed back in 1972. It basically gave universal Medicare coverage to anyone whose kidneys had failed. The goal was amazing: make sure that life-saving stuff like dialysis and transplants were available to every single person, no matter how much money they had. It was designed, in theory, to be the great equalizer.
So, what happened? This slide gives us the really troubling answer. Even with universal insurance, researchers found absolutely staggering racial disparities at almost every single step of kidney care. Black Americans are way more likely to have kidney failure to begin with. Then, they're less likely to get the right care before their kidneys fail, less likely to get the better at-home dialysis, they have to wait longer for a transplant, and in the end, are less than half as likely to ever even get one.
And if you want to see just how shocking that gap is, look at this chart. The average wait time for a kidney transplant for a white patient is about 605 days. For a black patient, 1,185 days. That's nearly double. And remember, this is all happening inside a system that's supposed to be financially equal for everyone.
So here's the crucial point. The kidney care system proves the fundamental causes theory in the most dramatic way possible. Even when you take away the most obvious barrier, cost, those underlying social factors, the fundamental causes, are so powerful that they just find other ways to create inequality.
whether it's through things like physician bias or just the difficulty of navigating a super complex healthcare system.
Okay, so that was a technology from the 1970s. It was the system, not the tech, that was the problem. So what happens when we drop brand new, shiny innovations into that same system today? Well, unfortunately, it's the same old story. We're seeing the same old problems play out with the newest tech.
Let's talk about personalized medicine. The promise is incredible, right? Care that's tailored specifically to your DNA. But the reality is that the huge genetic databases this science is built on, well, they're not very diverse. They are overwhelmingly filled with data from people of European descent. So this means the personalized medicine of the future might not even work as well for minority populations, and it risks bringing back old, disproven ideas about biological race. Some researchers even call it racialized medicine, basically using race as a sloppy shortcut for complex genetic factors.
And we see the exact same pattern in digital health. You know, all those health apps and websites promise to put power in the hands of patients. But as this chart shows, there's a clear digital divide. People with college degrees and higher incomes are way more likely to actually use these tools. This just creates a feedback loop where the people who already have advantages, well, they gain even more.
And this brings up another big structural problem. A lot of these digital tools work by collecting our personal health data. And that data then gets sold to tech companies, to advertisers, to drug companies. It raises a really critical question. Is this technology actually designed to help your health? Or are you just providing the raw material for a system that benefits someone else? And you have to wonder who's most likely to be taken advantage of in that system.
So after looking at technology from 50 years ago and technology from today, we're left with a pretty stark conclusion about what the real cure for health inequality might actually be.
At the end of the day, technology itself is neutral. It's not the cure, but it's not the villain either. It's an amplifier. In a society that is already unequal, technology is going to amplify those inequalities. It gives more advantages to the people who are already advantaged, and it can leave the disadvantaged even further behind.
And that leaves us with one final, big, provocative question. We always think the solution to our health problems is going to be the next big invention. But if technology just amplifies the world it's born into, maybe the answer isn't just about inventing more stuff. Maybe it's about intervening more. Intervening in those fundamental social conditions that create these health gaps in the first place. What do you think?